What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. Apple said this in 2019. They put it on billboards. They made it the foundation of their brand. In a world where Google tracked your searches, Facebook sold your data, and Amazon listened through Alexa, Apple promised something different. Your data is yours. Your privacy is sacred. And your iPhone is the one device you can trust. That promise is about to change. And the company making the change is Apple itself. In 2 days, Apple will take the stage at WWDC 2026 and announce the most significant update to the iPhone since the App Store. iOS 27 will rebuild Siri from the ground up. It will open your phone to third-party AI models. It will integrate Google's Gemini into the foundation of Apple Intelligence. Apple will present all of this as innovation, as choice, as the future. But before you celebrate, you need to understand what Apple already knows about you, and what iOS 27 will let others know too. Let us start with what Apple collects today. Right now, on the iPhone in your pocket, Apple collects your Siri voice recordings. Every time you activate Siri intentionally or accidentally, a recording is created. Apple says these recordings are anonymized and used to improve Siri. But they exist, on Apple's servers, connected to a random identifier that Apple insists cannot be traced back to you. Independent security researchers have questioned whether that anonymization is truly irreversible. Apple collects your location data. Your iPhone tracks where you go through a feature called Significant Locations. It records the places you visit most frequently, your home, your office, your gym, the restaurant you go to every Friday. Apple says this data stays on your device and is never sent to their servers. But it is processed by on-device machine learning algorithms that use it to predict your behavior. Apple collects your health data. If you use Apple Watch or the Health app, Apple has access to your heart rate, sleep patterns, exercise habits, menstrual cycle data, and medical records if you have added them. This data is encrypted and Apple says they cannot read it, but it exists in their ecosystem. Apple collects your photos, not the images themselves on their servers, but the metadata. On-device machine learning scans every photo you take. It identifies faces, objects, locations, and scenes. It groups people into albums. It recognizes your children, your partner, your friends. All on-device, all processed by Apple's neural engines. Apple does not see the photos, but Apple's AI does. Apple collects your purchase history. Every app you buy, every subscription you start, every in-app purchase, all recorded. Apple knows what kind of content you consume, what tools you use, and how much you spend. And Apple collects your app usage patterns. How long you spend in each app, which apps you open first thing in the morning, which apps you use late at night. The pattern of your digital life, mapped in precise detail. Now, Apple has always argued that this data stays on your device or is anonymized on their servers. And compared to Google or Facebook, that is largely true. Apple's business model is hardware, not advertising. They make money selling you iPhones, not selling your data to advertisers. That distinction is real, and it matters. But iOS 27 changes the equation fundamentally. When you activate a third-party AI extension, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, or any other model that AI needs access to your data to function. If Claude is going to rewrite your email, it needs to read your email. If Gemini is going to manage your calendar, it needs to see your calendar. If ChatGPT is going to summarize your documents, it needs to access your documents. This means your data, the data that Apple promised would stay on your device, will now travel to servers operated by Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI, companies with very different privacy policies than Apple. Companies whose business models include using data to improve their AI models. Apple has prepared for this with a disclaimer. Reports indicate that when you activate an extension, you will see something like this. Apple is not responsible for content created by third-party AI models. Your data may be processed on external servers according to the provider's privacy policy. That disclaimer is the most significant admission in Apple's privacy history. Not responsible. External servers. Provider's privacy policy. In one sentence, Apple transfers the privacy responsibility from itself to companies it does not control. The promise that made Apple different, the promise that your data stays with you, now has an asterisk. And the asterisk says, unless you choose to use the features we are most excited about. But it gets more complicated, because Apple is not just opening the door to third parties. Apple itself has already walked through a door that contradicts its own privacy brand. In January 2026, Apple signed a deal with Google to integrate the Gemini model directly into Apple Intelligence. Not as an extension you choose. As a built-in component of the operating system, Google's AI is now woven into the fabric of how your iPhone thinks. When Apple Intelligence summarizes a complex document, Gemini may be doing the processing. When Siri answers a sophisticated question, Gemini may be generating the response. And when that happens, your query, your words, your question, the context around it is processed by Google's model. Apple has spent a decade telling you that Google is the company that tracks everything you do. Apple ran entire advertising campaigns positioning itself as the anti-Google. Privacy. That is iPhone. Remember? Now Google's AI runs inside that iPhone. The irony is not subtle, it is structural. So why did Apple do this? Why would a company that built its entire brand on privacy voluntarily integrate its biggest privacy rival into its operating system? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. Apple had no choice. Apple Intelligence was not good enough. Their own AI models could not compete with GPT, Claude, or Gemini. Siri was falling further behind every month. The $250 million settlement proved that Apple's AI promises were not just delayed, they were broken. Apple had two options: build better AI, which would take years they did not have, or partner with companies that already had better AI, which would compromise the privacy brand they had spent a decade building. They chose option 2, and iOS 27 is the result. This does not mean Apple has abandoned privacy entirely. On-device processing still exists for basic tasks. Apple's secure enclave still protects biometric data. End-to-end encryption still covers iMessages and FaceTime calls. The core security architecture of the iPhone has not changed. What has changed is the boundary. The line between what stays on your device and what travels to external servers has shifted. And it has shifted in the direction of less privacy, not more. Here is what you can do to protect yourself when iOS 27 launches this fall. First, understand what each extension accesses. Before activating Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, read the privacy policy. Know what data they collect, how long they store it, and whether they use it to train their models. Second, consider using the default Siri for sensitive tasks. Apple's built-in AI, even with Gemini underneath, still processes most basic requests on device. For sensitive questions, health, finance, legal, keep it on device. Third, review your permissions regularly. iOS 27 will likely have a privacy dashboard showing which extensions accessed what data. Check it weekly. And fourth, make a conscious decision. Do not just accept the default. Think about what you are trading and whether the smarter AI is worth the privacy cost. WWDC starts on Monday. Apple will announce iOS 27 with excitement and confidence. They will show you the new Siri, the extension system, and the AI features that will make your iPhone smarter than ever. But remember what they will not show you: the data flowing to Google servers, the disclaimer absolving Apple of responsibility, the quiet end of the promise that defined a generation of iPhones. What happens on your iPhone no longer stays on your iPhone, and Apple is the one who opened the door. You do not control what Apple knows about you, and starting this fall, you will not control who else knows it either. WWDC is Monday, June 8th. We will be covering every announcement right here. Subscribe so you do not miss our live reaction.